So how do Muslim women in the UK feel about those comments from Boris Johnson? And what motivates choices behind wearing a full face veil like the burqa or the niqab or a hijab, or indeed no head covering at all? We've got a group of women with us in the studio. Welcome to all of you. Mabruka Baik has worn a hijab since she was 12 years old. Saha Al-Faifi chooses to wear a niqab even though her family would prefer her not to. Salima Bukayu is a fashion model who never wears any form of veil or head covering. And we're also joined by the activist and writer Huda Jawad. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'll start with you, Saha, because you choose to wear the niqab. You say actually your family don't want you to. But,
yes.
In terms of your choices and what is now going on, the conversation that we just heard with Omar and Boris Johnson's comments, how are you feeling about it right now?
I think his comments are clearly Islamophobic and racist. Is nothing but a dog whistle statement. He's dehumanizing and criminalizing Muslim women who chose to wear the face veil. And he seems to be that he just would like to increase his political profile in the expenses of my safety. You know, I am all for freedom of speech, but that comes with responsibility. And freedom of speech is not freedom of hate and bigotry. You know, because of his comments, I'm sure there will be a spark in Islamophobic abuse that can be verbal or physical, like what happened to Omar.
I mean, his article actually has the comments that have been so inflammatory about the letterbox and bank robbers, but the headline is, he says it's oppressive and ridiculous, but it's still no reason for there to be a ban.
So why is it oppressive? Like, if these women chose to wear this face veil out of conviction of faith, and there is part of their identity, and no one is forcing them to wear it, why is it oppressive? The problem is that we are having now white middle-aged men telling us what we should believe in and we shouldn't, and I find that patronizing.
I mean, just on that, have you ever felt any pressure from anyone to cover yourself?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I am a very strong woman. Anyone who knows me, like, there is no way anyone can force me to do anything. You know,
you're a scientist. You're a very well qualified.
I'm
woman
geneticist,
with a,
and in fact, last week I passed level 1 of solo skydiving. I'm not a letterbox. I'm a skydiver, if anything. You know, so it's never been a barrier. It's never been oppressive to me. And actually, I have a nickname amongst my friends and colleagues that I'm the rebel girl, and I am.
Salima, you are a model. You are a Muslim. You choose not to wear a veil at all.
No, I don't. I don't wear any form of veil at any time unless I obviously go to a mosque. Then it's required. In Moroccan culture, it's usually that we wear it after marriage. It's just how we decided to interpret it. You can see that in Morocco. You can see that in the UK. Some do, of course. Some don't. But I just personally don't feel like I need to, or I just don't want to.
So what we're hearing obviously from both of you is you both feel very strongly that, you know, religion aside, what you're doing is your free choice.
Yeah,
you're
for
following
sure.
your
I feel
free
like
will.
just how I'm empowered by showing my hair, she feels empowered by wearing the full veil.
What about if you were in a context where you were being forced? Would you both feel
if I was forced to wear
you were forced to wear, you were forced not to wear, or you were forced to wear, actually?
I'm against forcing anything.
Yeah, I would never feel the need to. My parents have never required it. None of my family. It's something that I feel quite free about. Like, it's not something that I feel like I need to do. But I just feel like comments from Boris Johnson, someone that was the mayor of London, a very diverse city, someone that we now have a mayor who's Muslim. You'd think that he would not be making these stupid remarks, is now making these Islamophobic remarks, and it's quite silly. Because you have someone here that's saying that she's a rebel, she's a scientist, she's a skydiver.
You know what? It's a total coincidence. It's like as if I knew he's going to make these comments that I passed my skydiving.
Exactly. She's a Class A feminist, and she feels empowered.
Mabruka, you've been wearing the hijab, the headscarf, since you were 12. And was it always a free choice for you?
Well, to be honest, I have been encouraged by my family to do so, but as I grew older, I felt it's part of my identity, and I felt it's my freedom to wear one. And right now, if I want to take it off, I could take it off, but I don't want to. I feel it's made me, it's part of me.
So initially, when you were being encouraged, how did you feel about it?
I felt all right about it because I would read into my religion by myself, and I thought it's something special, and so I did choose to wear it. But I do say that my parents did encourage it.
And what was the context around that? Were you at a school where there were others wearing it, or did because obviously at the age of 12, if you're in school and you're wearing something that marks you out, it's something for
I'd say
for
school I went to was quite multicultural. Other girls were wearing it. And so I didn't feel weird about it because at a young age I was really like confident about the decisions and choices I made.
Did you feel it ever impacted on integration with other communities?
No, well, at a young age I felt like it didn't conflict like with my British values. So like, you know, respect and tolerance. But as I grew older, I felt a bit that society is sort of tries to alienate women who.
It's
wear a
interesting.
scarf.
You talk about the British values of
Yeah.
respect and tolerance that
Yeah,
you feel
which-
you have.
yeah.
But have you felt, all of you actually, that's been reflected always the
Yeah.
other way?
I feel like Boris Johnson's comments, they're the ones that are conflicting with the British values and not our choice of clothing, because like with British values, it's all about tolerance. You should respect other people's faith.
Exactly.
And a lot of people conflate assimilation with integration.
Yeah.
When you integrate with the society, that means you're an active citizen and you're participating in public life. But what you see the far right or some of the centre right propagating is that Muslims should integrate while they should assimilate, meaning that you have to lose everything, your identity, your faith, into the major component of the society until you become unrecognizable. So we have to make a distinction between assimilation and integration. We are in a diverse society.
I mean, in the conversation with Omar, obviously there was an encounter. And a sort of hand signal was made that would seem to indicate, you know, that sort of normally shorthand for everything's okay, but she interpreted it in a different way. The mask was a barrier, and communication and lack of understanding was there on both sides. Do you feel that if you encounter someone and you're wearing the niqab and there's a lack of understanding that could be overcome? I mean, how much of a barrier do you ever feel it is?
Definitely it can be overcome. I mean, even if you, statistically speaking, a lot of the communication, most of it is actually body gestures and your voice tune. It's not really your facial expression. I'm not saying it means that it will never be a barrier. It might be in a small or few cases, but from my experience, I've never had a problem with my lab colleagues communicating to them or talking to them about my ideas and anything like that. So the communication is a minor argument, and that's why I always like to focus or tell people about the bigger picture. It's never about the niqab or the hijab or any of that. It's about
sorry, I was just going to say what's really interesting is that we're using the idea of physicality and appearance as a way to kind of say, well, this is what marks you out as acceptable or not, which is exactly what, you know, misogynists have been saying for thousands of years. And I think what's also interesting is that we're making the responsibility of communication upon the people who are not seeing a problem, but so the people who have responsibility that can actively overcome the barrier that is in their own mind, let off the responsibility.
Do you not feel there is any misogyny at all around the wearing of the veil, covering yourself up? Because obviously men don't have to do the same.
No, I think patriarchy will use whatever tools it has to ensure that misogyny exists. So misogyny can exist in porn culture and in pornography and in advertising and in literature and in politics. And as we all know from the Me Too movement, Time's Up movement, that no one is safe from misogyny. And I think what's interesting, what's really central in all this is the women's choices and the fact that people assume that it's okay and they have the right to decide on what women should wear and how to wear it and when to wear it, and so it feels like it's relative.
It brings us back to the freedom of choice. I mean, there are countries obviously where women do not have the choice.
Yeah.
Would you feel differently? Have you ever been in an environment where you have had to wear it?
No, I've never been in an environment I've had to wear it, but what I find really interesting about this debate is that we're constantly deflecting about what happens in other countries. We're talking about a British politician who was the mayor of London. This, you know, he was very responsible and measured in what he chose to say. And what's really interesting is that we continuously find ourselves talking about, the values of liberal democracy, of what it does in other countries, and we're defining ourselves in terms of what the other is and not what we are. And I feel like it's very important that we need to say that women are not there as cannon fodder for your career, Boris Johnson. We are here, we have choices, and we can speak for ourselves.
Exactly.
I think what's important today, and this is why I'm here, is to highlight the fact that Boris Johnson's remarks, we are going to see the effects for over like many years to come. His effects are destructive. His effects are the reason why people are having these negative encounters on the street, because he needs to understand he has a responsibility because of the position of authority he's in. So that is somebody's mother that you're saying is a bank robber. I mean, what do you, for the next generation, her children, how do you expect them to integrate? It's just like he's just continuing to marginalise.
I mean, as I said, at
society.
the same time, he said he doesn't support the
he's
ban in Denmark.
I think that's just like
He's completely contradicting himself.
He's banning it. He's technically banning it. Because
why do you say he's technically banning it? Because people might choose not to wear it because
people are going to be fearing for their lives.
He's influential in
people
politics.
Are fearing their lives.
He's very influential in the political arena, and if he's making remarks like that, what's that got to say for the Conservative Party?
I mean, like, our life is already difficult. Like, we face discrimination against our faith, our race, our colour, and when it comes to the workplace and gender, everything. And now we have his comments legitimising even further hate crimes.
So have any of you experienced anything different since the comments by Boris Johnson?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What have
yesterday,
you had?
It was immediate, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yesterday I was on the phone to a youth worker, Susie Murphy from Positive Youth Foundation, and that's a charity that we have in Coventry, and they help, they work with 57 nationalities and they help marginalised children. And she said to me that she's had complaints, girls saying that people are throwing stones at them on the roads. And this is on the phone yesterday.
Would it make any, I mean, obviously you don't wear a veil, but would it make any of you three change what you do?
If she doesn't wear the veil, I think she would face discrimination in the workplace.
Me personally, since his comments, no, but as a Muslim woman, I have faced racism in the past. My mum wears a hijab, my older sister does. My whole family who are married actually wear the hijab.
So when you're out with them, do they experience things?
I've never personally with my mum, but I have, like, she's told me.
It usually has a triple effect on the family.
Yeah.
It does have an effect on the mental health of the victim.
Exactly.
You know, I know of a case where sisters, one of them wear the niqab and the other one doesn't wear the hijab or the niqab at all, like Salima. And the sister who doesn't wear the hijab, she feels frightened for her sister. She doesn't allow her to go on her own. So what you're seeing that the woman who wears the niqab is limiting her movement, and she's asking her sister to go with her wherever she goes. And this is quite
I definitely fear for my mum's safety.
According to polling, the majority in this country don't think Boris Johnson's comments were inflammatory and would support a ban on the burqa. The niqab.
Is this the Sky News poll?
I think there have been a few different polls.
Well, you know, statistics, they're quite subjective in a way, and I think, who are you asking? Who's responding to these polls? I think what it is, like today, what we have to talk about is the solution. I think, for example, there's quite a bit of cognitive dissonance going on. For example, Coventry, we've got the city of culture, but we've got like comments like Boris Johnson. They're just explosive. He's just hindering all efforts of multiculturalism, and I think that's something we have to deal with. I think today it's important. Like, for example, Nigel Farage yesterday, he made a comment saying that politicians aren't happy with what Boris Johnson said, but the country is happy. And today we're here saying that no, the country isn't happy with what you're saying. What makes you more British than us?
And I want to read some comments that are coming through on social media. Linda on email, my brother is deaf and lip reads. He went into a shop and when he went to pay, he didn't know what the assistant said because her mouth was covered. He asked her to remove her veil and she refused. The manager had to be called and he served my brother, but my brother felt completely humiliated because he was holding up the queue and it emphasised his disability. Why was this lady serving on a till? A lot of people who partially hear need to look at someone's lips. How do you feel about that?
I don't think it's a common case. I don't think you see that
but
everywhere,
in that instance,
wherever
where
you
it is
go.
a barrier to communication, would somebody take it off? What's the best solution there?
I mean, like, you know, personally, like, I've never had a problem with taking the face veil whenever is needed. I mean, if I was in an airport, I would take it off without even asking, because I know there is a need. If there's a deaf person who I had to communicate with them, and my lip movement is absolutely vital, I personally don't have a problem with that, to take it off. What I have a problem with is the politicization of the whole thing, to use the niqab as a tool to demonize a segment of the society who happen to be women. And I find it very difficult to accept someone like Boris Johnson to be profiled within his political circle in the expenses of my safety and my choice.
If you're happy to take it off in certain situations, just explain exactly why it is that you do want your face to be covered.
So this is also one of the things that Boris Johnson said in his article, that the Quran does not say this, and it's patronizing, as I said, but in the Quran it says for women is recommended to lower down their garments, and garments has different interpretation, which gives the freedom for woman to express her faith or identity the way she wants. So my understanding is that I will wear it as much as I can wherever I go, and if there is exception or exceptional cases, I'm more than happy to take it off and put it back again.
There is, I mean, it's often said there is no basis in Islam.
Yeah, I just want to say something about this.
There is basis.
I just want to say that whether there's a base or not, women's clothing should be out of the question. We wear what we want. Yeah. And also, I want to send a message out to all young girls out there. You don't have to answer to anyone about what you wear and why you wear it. This is your freedom. Your clothing. This is your body. Absolutely. You own your body.
Have you seen Quanta Ahmed? She's written an article in The Spectator. It's been discussed a lot. I mean, she's said that she welcomes Boris Johnson's comments.
Well, that's her opinion.
Yeah, she talks about when she was forced to wear the veil in Saudi Arabia, and she said that ever since then she would not wear it. Sorry, I just want. I mean, one thing that she says, she describes it as a symbol of cultural misogyny and a political marker of Islamist sympathies.
No, that's clearly someone that the niqab wasn't made for her. It's not someone. It's like me. It was not my thing.
Yeah, women can choose to subvert these symbols.
Exactly.
And they're evolving. So something that has become a cultural symbol of misogyny can evolve. Culture is not fixed. It's not static. It's evolving, and we have a choice and we have agency. And what I find really interesting is that we're constantly searching and asking people to justify their choices, whether it's religious or not religious, whether it's in the Quran or whether it's not in the Quran. It is beside the point. Exactly. What is important is that a middle-class white man with power and who's completely out of touch with society has chosen to make sure that he gets his populist kind of following through attacking the most vulnerable. Exactly. We're not talking about Brexit, we're not talking about the meltdown of the political situation in the Conservative Party or in politics in general. We're not talking about the economy, but we've chosen to talk about women, a minority of women who are very active in society but choose to wear different forms of clothing. What's that got to do with him? An
anonymous texter says the lady from Denmark that we spoke to believes it's against her human rights. Visitors to Islamic countries have to abide by their laws, which can be very harsh. So why can't we choose our laws? I'm not defending Johnson. He's no more than a Trump-type political clown mouth making loads of money.
Well, we're not visitors. We are citizens of this country, and we are British.
We're all British.
And another thing, it means we should say, so for example, in some countries they torture prisoners. So we're saying, it's okay in the UK to probably shout at prisoners and treat them horribly because in another country they torture.
Yes, always talking about another country. This is a British problem.
We should be comparing the situation in our country to our values.
Exactly.
Haida on Twitter, just going back to what we were saying about the basis, whether there's any religious basis or not, the Holy Quran only advises women to wear modestly, not to cover their faces.
Well, that's her interpretation.
Exactly, there's a
garment.
And that's how I interpret it, but I would still never turn to her and say, no, you're incorrect for wearing it. She feels comfortable, she feels empowered to single out herself, put the niqab on, and walk comfortably down.
To look like this
She's
and live like this every day.
I don't see why anyone can tell her not.
Once again, women's clothes should be out of the question.
I mean, in Denmark, it's not just a ban on the niqab and the burqa, it's a broader ban because it's about integration, it's about communication, it's about balaclavas, masks and false beards are all banned as well.
In Denmark there have been so many laws that introduced recently that stigmatise minority and people of colour. Only like 2 months ago they passed a law where they can take a child from a family who lives in the so-called ghettos, the most deprived society, away for number of hours to be taught the Danish values. This kind of superimposition of values on the most deprived.
We're almost out of time, but I just want to ask you all actually, do you think it is constructive to be having these discussions? Because whatever you think of what Boris Johnson has said, it has fomented a discussion. And is that always good in terms of helping understand?
I think we should always bring, like whenever he attacks the vulnerable, bring the vulnerable to speak and show them that, no, we're not happy about this. We are part of this society. What makes you more British than us?
As long as it doesn't further any alienation and we don't get further marginalised and there's not a spark in Islamophobia, then I feel like having a decent discussion about it is fine.
One last point, which I think is quite shocking, is that no one's standing up to him, no one's saying, everyone's sitting on the fence, for example, culture.
No, that's not true. I mean, the Prime Minister has criticised strongly his remarks, and she said he should apologise. There are lots within his own party saying those remarks are unacceptable. But she's done it. She's come out and said it.
Thank you. A bit too late, Theresa May, because we've elected you to represent our values. But nonetheless, women should be dictating the debate, not men.
Yes, I have the same word, the white feminists.
The culture minister, when he's...
I was discussing that the white feminists, their outrage is completely missed. Where are they? You know, we need to have more women to speak on their behalf in these platforms, and we need more dialogue and discussion to promote mutual respect and understanding for all.
It's really great to have you all in to discuss all of this. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your comments. Do keep them coming in. We were inundated yesterday with comments on Boris Johnson's comments then, and as you're hearing, the reaction is continuing, so please do keep your thoughts coming in.